How Marion Works, a podcast series dedicated to informing you of the inner workings in all areas of Marion government and public services. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 7 of How Marion Works. I'm your host, Layla Price-Bodkin. The mission of the How Marion Works podcast is to inform and expose the community of Marion, Indiana, and surrounding areas to all of the moving pieces of Marion. We thank you and welcome you to our podcast, How Marion Works. So today's episode is Plan to Succeed, featuring Mike Graft and Brian Mauller. So welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you and I, we get to work together a lot, and I know we have an icebreaker, but it's really just for the purpose of the podcast, so we can get kind of rolling here. So we're going to start with a fun icebreaker question, and I'm going to start with Mike. What is your favorite memory in Marion of all time?
Oh, I mean, there's been so many. I'm like Methuselah when it comes to the city of Marion. I've been around a long time. I think my favorite memory of Marion is just that to see the what seems to be a big city to a lot of people is that we're really a small community. Everybody really kind of knows each other, and it's exciting when I even go to the store and people say, "Hey, I saw you at a council meeting," or I saw you out on the street doing what are you doing? And to be able to have that kind of relationship with the community is pretty special.
So it's really a culminating memory of
Sure.
yours.
Yeah, it's a lot of years. I mean, Brian's is relatively new. But his wife's been, with the county, so he's kind of familiar with politics. But for me, my career has been around politics, even though I've had secondary careers while I've worked here. Yeah, I mean, it's been a big part of my life growing, living in Marion is just being around the public. So
I love that. Okay, Brian, what is your favorite memory in Marion?
Well, I'm kind of new to it.
So how long have you been here, just so we kind of have some context?
I'll be here a year in April.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
in that year...
I've been around Grant County all my life, but as far as like Marion, when I started, Mike would always tell me, well, just go to this road, and he didn't understand that like 38th,
right.
38th, 38th Street and the bypass was my two roads. So it's
And really, Mike is like a dinosaur because he's probably calling it the old name of the old name of the
road, or a road that's got four names to it.
Right.
So we're getting to it, and I'm making memories of things. I getting involved with making Marion a better place. Mm-hmm. Will be the memories that I can remember.
Great answer.
And I'm gonna put a plug in here too for Brian. Brian has taken on, which you probably won't have a question about this, but I certainly want to put this out there. Brian has taken on a responsibility with the fire department to be their chaplain. And a lot of people don't know that, but that's a neat thing that as a city employee that he's taken that under his wing to help these guys if they've got issues or questions or concerns that he can sit down with them and talk about that. So I know that's not revolving on what but I certainly wanted to put a plug out there for them because I think that's stellar that you do your regular job and then you still want to give back to these guys. So
I'm definitely going to touch on that later too, Brian. I for you to step up like that from the passion that you have for this community after only being here for a small amount of time. Because I know that you've been in a walk, a spiritual walk and a journey, so that is just part of that. And we have some really great people who work for the city, and part of this podcast is to help folks understand who we are as humans and, what we're into and how much passion we have and how we display it. So before we move on, I'm actually going to share a memory. And it wasn't too long ago, but it was the solar eclipse and how we were able to all experience that in this small community. I don't know if both of you, were you here during that time in Marion?
Yeah, my wife and I sat down with the group with the concerts and everything that was going on down at the soccer fields. And that was, we had a front row seat for it. It was very neat.
I was working at Taylor University when it happened, and we kind of did the same thing. I mean, everybody stopped working, and we sat and watched the whole thing. And as a group, it was really cool.
It was really stellar. I mean, for the community to come together from near and far, because we had all visitors who wanted to be a part of that in Marion, Indiana.
Yeah.
Because we had such a great time limit.
And we had a great venue spot for it where everybody could get set up. We had, the ability to have vendors and concerts, and just a really great spot, an open spot for just an incredible view of it. So
yeah, that's actually casting a vision for something that's going to be happening here soon.
Is.
You guys are doing so much in the planning and engineering department. And before we get to what you both do, Mike, I'm going to start with you and just ask you where you were actually born and raised, and what shaped you to become who you are today.
Well, I'm a transplant. I didn't grow up in Grant County. I grew up in Winchester, which is east of Muncie. My wife and I are both from there. Her parents, actually, her father worked for General Motors, so he would travel from Winchester to Marion every day for work. And as we grew up, we left Winchester. I joined the military. I was in the Coast Guard and was stationed in Miami. And we had our first child while we were in Miami, and kind of came to a realization while we were down there that we needed to be back home with family. So the question at that point began, which back home did we go to? Because my parents still lived in Winchester, and her parents still lived in Winchester, but were planning to move to Marion. Mm-hmm. So when they made the decision to move to Marion, it was closer to where I could finish my degree, to finish my engineering degree. So we decided that we would move with them. And we actually lived with them for about a year and a half until we got stable, until we found something. And then when I graduated, I literally started with the City of Marion in their drafting room. And I did all the design stuff, and right out of school. Not from around here, didn't really know what to expect when we came to Marion, but literally we've been here longer than we were ever in Winchester. So this is our home. This is where we raised our two kids. And, we have my son that lives in Chicago with his wife and three kids, and my daughter who lives here with three kids. And I'm going to be a great grandfather here soon. So I know I don't look that old, but yeah, I'm really not.
Is that the family up in Chicago?
No, this would be my daughter's family. So her oldest son is expecting.
Wow.
So Marion is really, it has become my home, even though, like a lot of GM workers that were transplants, that moved from Hamilton, and this became their home. And for me, I take great pride in that I've been here so long to see the changes and the all the administrations that I've been through, and I'm very happy with the decision that we made to make Marion our home.
Where did you do your schooling?
In Purdue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I will preface it. I'm an IU fan.
Yeah.
For basketball, and I'm a Cornhusker fan for football. So the Purdue sports is kind of secondary for me.
Well, thank you for clarifying.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm an IU fan too.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service with the Coast Guard, and so you have been with the City of Marion for a very long time. I want to say,
36 years.
Oh, wow. So you had been kind of prepping for retirement, but when Mayor Morrell became mayor, you had a new opportunity that basically you had to make a very important decision that took a lot of prayer, I'm sure. And
it did.
And talks with family.
Yeah, it's so, when I talked with then when he wasn't mayor, I talked to him before he decided, when he was just running, And I had told him that what my plans were, but I also said that I knew that he was going to be coming into, a brand new spot, and there was a lot of people that were already retiring. So I laid it out that, I would love to give him one more year to help him get his feet on the ground. And actually that year turned into another year. And so I don't know what the plan is at this point. My plan is right now that I would retire at the end of this year, and whether that, we'll just play that by ear.
Play it by ear, yes. And since this podcast is kind of timeless, what year did you actually start working for Marion?
It would have been in 1990.
Was it 90? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
about right.
That sounds right.
That sounds about right.
Okay, Brian. So where were you born and raised, and basically your life story growing up that shaped you into who you are today, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, born and raised right here in Grant County.
Okay.
Yeah, Eastbrook, from kindergarten to graduation. But I lived in the county. I've been in the country most of my life. A few years ago,
boy.
a few years ago, we moved into town, into Swayze, which started my feel for what it was like small town living. Mm-hmm. Lived there about 3 years, and then I've recently, in the last 3 years, bought the house that I grew up in and have almost completely remodeled. We're close.
That's awesome.
But I think growing up in the country and growing up around small towns really helped me become who I am. Growing up gardening and having chores and all those things, I think have helped me with my work ethic. At the end of the day, I like to think that I have a good work ethic. I guess we could ask my boss.
I think you do.
But I think the way I grew up was a big part of that. And then my spiritual walk in the last 15 years has really shaped me into a different person. Wasn't always the best person, but
I don't think any of us are perfect.
Well, yeah, working on it on a daily basis.
Great.
I've been married for April 4th will be 38 years.
Nice. Wow.
I just hit 42 today.
Yeah. Wow,
on, baby.
Today.
Yeah.
Well,
happy anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary. So I'm getting close to a 38-year anniversary. I've got one daughter and one granddaughter and a son-in-law. My granddaughter is 16. She'll be getting her license here in a couple months, so I'm feeling kind of old.
Did you have any schooling that kind of brought you to where you are now?
No.
Or any
School
previous
of hard
work
knocks.
experience?
My work experience was how this whole thing came about. I worked for a contractor that did the 50/50 sidewalk program for 2 years. So I met Mike through my concrete work, and then 2 years ago I had to have spinal fusion surgery that took me out of any kind of contracting work with concrete.
Wow.
So I had taken a job with Taylor University on the grounds department, and it was still being pretty rough on my back. So it was this time of year, obviously, and during Lent I fast and pray on Wednesdays. So I had been praying about answers for what to do. And on my last Wednesday of fasting and prayer, Mike called, and my old boss had me get a hold of him, and we talked, and he asked me what I was doing, and I told him, and I said, it's not working out the best. He said, well, why don't you come fill out an application? So I did, and we interviewed, and the next week, and before I even got home, they called and said, job's yours if you want it. So kind of prayed myself into the job. It was just an answered prayer for me, because now I don't have to, the physical labor that I've done all my life that's caused me the problems I got, I'm not doing anymore.
You're basically you're driving around, you're walking around.
A lot of walking,
and
which is what I'm
really
supposed to be doing, is walking.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's the best for my back surgery. That was the doctor's orders was to do as much walking as I can, and like we just talked a little bit ago yesterday, we probably walked a good 3 or 4 miles yesterday, measuring sidewalks and just getting out and doing the things that we have to do on a daily basis. So
So you started your position with the city in 2024?
Yep.
And your official title is?
I'm the right-of-way supervisor.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you want to get into actually what that entails, and then I can kind of hop over to Mike's responsibilities? Since we're talking about you and you're out in the community a lot, you're measuring. What is it that you do on a day-to-day basis?
It covers a lot of things. Any work that's done in our right-of-ways, which would be the area next to the roads, like your sidewalks and curbs, and anybody that comes in and does any of that work, we have to write permits so that we can oversee the street cuts and oversee the sidewalk work. So any work that gets done on gas lines and fiber and all the things that are in the right-of-ways that we oversee, I write all the right-of-way permits for that, and then have to do all the inspections as they tear out sidewalks, as they put the sidewalks back, street cuts. I think we cover a lot of stuff people probably wouldn't realize, because we don't have, like, we oversee all the paving, stripes on the roads, the sidewalk work, the trails, lights. I take care of.
What kind of lights?
All the street lights, any street lights that are out, we have to kind of oversee that and make the calls to get those repaired. We also have the traffic side of it, that if there's signs down, we're usually the ones that get contacted, and we have to contact Randy and the guys down there, and they take care of the signs, like stop signs and street signs and all those things. So we really oversee all of it. And then, like, this time of year is going to be really crazy for us, because we have and we have a lot of projects going on all at once, a lot of sidewalks and a lot of trails and a lot of stuff going on, and it's really good stuff. But then you also have to deal with, like, all the complaints. We got a lot of roads closed. We got a lot of work going on, and
questions.
Sometimes it's hard to understand that for things to get better, they have to get worse for a little while.
Yeah, and why isn't my street being paved?
And all those things, because we also have all the alleys that we deal with as well.
Okay.
And so you can't make an omelet without breaking an egg.
I love that. Yeah.
We have to tear things up to make them nice. So, road closures are on us. Motion of traffic, all that stuff is on us to make sure things are running smooth and traffic's okay. And like, Mike will have to notify everybody when we're closing roads. But my job is really to oversee all the right-of-way work.
Whether it's initiated by us or initiated by others.
Anybody else, yes.
And you work very closely with utilities and making sure that everything stays under proper regulation.
And I've really had to rebuild some relationships in this job, because at the end of the day, that's really, relationships is what it's all about. I don't care. I've been through a lot of training. I've been through management training. I've been through year-long leadership development training for ministry. I've been through sales training. I've been through a lot of training, and it always boils down to relationships.
Now, that is actually a perfect segue to talk about the challenges, because you have had to rebuild relationships. And I will let you go ahead and go into that even more if you want to, or I can let Mike talk.
It's really just been the relationships because utilities is a separate entity, that I felt like when I started, there wasn't a really good relationship there that I've had to build up with Bill and some of the guys down there, and it's working out really well. Because even like when we have sinkholes, I have to be out there on those too, and we have to decipher whether it's their problem or our problem, and so we have to work together. And I think we've come from both sides. We've come a long way on that. And then the relationships between the contractors, those are all really important. That we keep a good relationship with the contractors, because we contract everything. So I mean, we have to.
That's very important. Those relationships,
and then with the citizens, conflict resolution is really important, and you have to be able to take some beatings I've taken some pretty good ones. Took one last week where you have to I really just had to ask the person to go inside and settle down, and then we'll talk through it. But you have to be able to do that, the conflict resolution, because there's a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
And until people understand, and until they listen to these podcasts and read your stuff and understand a little bit about how it all works, if you don't understand how it works, then you're probably going to be angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that this podcast can help educate in that way. And Brian, it sounds like you do a lot of important work, and you take it in stride. You kind of have to take a beating, and you just kind of have to, learn to understand that it is what it is, and it's not personal, and it's a way for you to generate that conflict resolution.
Well, at the end of the day, I haven't had one that I didn't walk away from where the people weren't satisfied.
That's pretty impressive.
And it
awesome.
just takes some patience and some time sometimes to talk through it and help them understand our side of the story and what we have to do to get things done. And usually if you give it enough time and you listen, that's a lot of people's problem is they don't listen. I'll listen to their complaints first.
But they want to be listened to.
Yes. So at the end of the day, it always works out, and we usually walk away from the situation with good feeling.
How Marion Works is sponsored by the City of Marion. This podcast covers the inner workings of city government to better serve you.
Well, Mike, I know you've got to be so happy with Brian's work, and you have a very small department, even though planning and engineering have merged basically into one department, would you say?
Correct. Yeah, that kind of happened in the last year or so that we transitioned to that. But before we get into that, I just want to say, how impressive is this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been on this job for a year, and he's already, you can just see the passion that he has for the community. I mean,
I'm going to clap.
Literally, if you could have probably put 3 candidates down and the way that you do an interview, you don't get that side. You don't understand that side of it, and people don't understand. You can say this is what the job description is, but it doesn't come close to what we do. Our job description is so broad, and then we talk on a daily basis that if people realize everything that we do, trying to put it down into words and and say and express. This is what we do with 2 guys.
Right.
And that's when I started, the department had 5. And the engineer literally never left the building. Well, that's not me. I've got to be out. With the 2 of us, we have to literally be on site to every job and be a part of it. So to know, and listen to what Brian just said, it just gives me a very good feeling that the city is very well represented by a man with character, and in very short time of what he's learned. I don't know how long he plans to stay with the city, but I think he'll just get better as time goes by. So I just wanted to put that out there. So
thank you. Yeah. Absolutely. And I know that you do have some help from semi-retired Virgil Hartley, who is considered a consultant now for MS4.
Yep.
Stormwater. Do you want to explain
what he does? And a lot of people don't understand what that is. It's like MS4. What's MS4?
What is that?
I mean, the biggest part of it is we deal with a lot of entities. We deal with the Department of the Indiana Department of Transportation. We deal with DNR. Department of Natural Resources. We deal with IDAM, the Department of Environmental Management, which is where Virgil kind of fits in. He's been doing our MS4, which is a compliancy that that we have to do. We have audits every 5 years. We have a report that's got to be done every year on how we deal with environmental stuff at all of our locations. How we deal with stormwater runoff. And Virgil also goes out when we have construction sites that the buildings that are going up, to make sure that the fences, the silt fences and things that where the mud and stuff is not getting out into the road and getting into the storm drain. So Virgil's been doing that for several years. And he's said that he might want to do it another year. I don't know, but but he does do a tremendous job with that. And actually, as Brian alluded to, we deal with the traffic maintenance side, the signs and the overhead signals, and we've kind of shifted gears a little bit. But I do have a consultant that Bob Hoke, who comes in twice a week. And he's the guy that if you see a street name sign down, he's the guy out here that's replacing every one of our street name signs.
Oh, great.
So a big shout out to Bob for everything that he does. And he was doing it when the snow was flying. And, that's not a comfortable job to be out. Your hands are cold and you're trying to work with wrenches and screws and put all these street name signs up. So is it a slow process? Yeah, it's a slow process. But for what Bob does, we'd actually looked at contracting that out, and we had a group that wanted over $200,000 just to put up all of our street name signs. So
wow.
I'm trying to save you folks money, but it takes time to get all the signs up. And then when you get a street name sign up, and then it gets torn down or gets stolen. So
right.
Yeah, it's a constant battle. Yeah. So, but shout out to him.
Yes, great.
And Rhonda Pearson used to do all of our traffic maintenance. We've within the last few months, we've segued to bring in more of a commercial contractor to do these things, because just like anything else, as we age, people are looking more towards retirements. So we want to make sure that when that happens, or if it happens, we've got people in place or things in place to do that. So that's kind of what we're doing in that. So I again, my side is a lot of management, a lot of dealing with city council and that kind of stuff. Brian takes a large weight off my shoulders every day. But I try not to just throw him under the bus all the time. He knows I'm out there, I'm looking, and I'm a part of what he's doing, as well as when it comes to dealing with the city council and the mayor and people that are calling up with questions and dealing with all the utilities and that kind of stuff. So, what used to be a big group is a very finite 2 individuals, and I think for 2 individuals, we're currently working on 3 projects that are ongoing right now that they're not too spread out, which is good. It makes it a little bit easier for us to kind of go back and forth. But it's still 3 projects that we're managing, supervising, making sure that people are getting the question. So it's a lot. It's a lot for 2 people. Yeah.
And I definitely want to mention Lisa Todd, because now that the planning department basically has merged into this engineering and traffic. Can you explain a little bit about what Lisa does? She's been with the city for
Lisa do?
Longer than you probably. I know.
Lisa's been with the city for almost 48 years.
Yes. She's probably one of the oldest besides Virgil.
That's literally still that's still literally on. Virgil's consultant, and he could walk out as Lisa could too. But Lisa Todd, where do you begin to talk about Lisa Todd?
You talk about knowledge.
She deals with every department, literally from the police department to your department to help you with events and
graphic design.
What she does when I have I'm going to kind of give you a little swing back. She had surgery and was off for, what was it, Brian, 4 weeks?
4 or 5.
4 or 5 weeks. And I'm telling you, that was the longest 5 weeks of my life.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize when somebody's handling what they do and they do it so well, that when they're gone and you've got to take it over, you're like, what on earth? Again, talking about, how do you handle a successor? I don't know that you handle a success for Lisa Todd. She knows so much. Mm-hmm. You can train people to do certain things. You just cannot train that type of knowledge and base that she has. She's just tremendous at what she does. She understands the zoning laws very well. She understands the ordinances very well that she deals with, and she's so good at dealing with new commercial that's coming in or residential people that have questions, and she does it in stride and doesn't. I mean, she worked through lunches to help people. I talk about when she does some of the stuff that she does, and you peek into her office and she's just sitting there, and you're thinking, what is she up to today? And after the 5 weeks, I know what she's up to, and it's a lot, and it is so. When I was requested to do a special exception for somebody, and you think that it's just a meeting and you just have it, but the notifications that have to go out and the letters that have to be written, and the correspondence and making sure that all that is done, she does that literally on a daily basis, and never a word, and she just plugs away. So.
She also serves as secretary for the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission.
And she works with the walkway lights. And
That's right.
It's how do you replace that?
I know.
I don't know that you.
She's the map lady.
That you can. I mean, I always have been told that when we pass that your job description is going to go up, and then it'll be filled in a couple of weeks. You still never fit in a couple of weeks. You still won't fill that person. You'll get a body there that can do some clerical things. You'll never get that. And again, the blessing that I have with Brian, and for in a short amount of time that he's done, it's just the workload that I was seeing at one time was overwhelming, and I'm just blessed to have two really good individuals, and then Virgil in the background there peeping around. I'm just very blessed as an administrator to have these people literally around me, because they make me look good.
Not just to count on, but to really be proud of.
Absolutely.
And I know you've got to feel very blessed. I know I feel very blessed that all of you are a part of the City of Marion. So I'm going to take a real quick break to tell folks to stay connected with us by following City of Marion IN on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok, as well as our website, cityofmarion.in.gov, and on the new My Marion app, a free download through your Apple Store or Google Play Store. So we're going to start with our second icebreaker, and we'll start with Brian this time. What is your favorite getaway or your go-to when you're not at work?
Motorcycle.
Yeah, so anywhere? Just going anywhere on your motorcycle?
Yeah, we ride a lot. My wife and I ride a lot. After back surgery, not as much as I used to, but 4,000 to 6,000 miles a year on two wheels.
Wow. What kind of motorcycle is it?
I have a Harley. I'm kind of spoiled. It's a big bike with lots of features, so it's comfortable.
It's a cruiser?
It is a cruiser, yep.
Cool.
With heated grips, and I can ride in the cold. And,
nice.
But yeah, getting on the motorcycle and going for a nice ride is a way for me to clear my mind and just enjoy the creation around me. And we take a lot of back roads often, and over by Upland, I can usually travel. I have a little area that I can run through, and I can count anywhere from 35 to 60 deer if it's the right time of the evening, and just be out in nature. And my house, we have a pond, so I'm a bird watcher and a duck person.
Sounds
so
like my husband.
I sit out and watch the ducks and the birds and fish a little bit, and I really like to just sit and relax in nature.
Being outdoors.
I can be on the back porch and watching birds and be pretty satisfied. I'm pretty easy to please. I don't like to be in the busy when I'm not working. I like to be kind of laid back, but the motorcycle would be my number way to get relaxation. I like to garden and
I'm sure you are very safe when you ride.
Yeah.
His wife loves to be on 465 too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I told him the story the other day. Because I don't mind the highway, but we were on 465, and it was a bad time of the day to be there. And she's tapping on my shoulder and saying, "Get me off this road."
I'm not a fan.
Yeah. So she doesn't like to be on the big roads when it's busy, but
I don't blame her.
So we take some side roads, but yeah, it's mostly just relaxing things like motorcycle riding and just hanging out outside. And
Nice.
I like to work in the garden, and we burn wood for heat, so I spend a lot of time cutting wood and just staying busy.
That's great. Healthy activities.
I'm a busy person.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
Yeah. I guess I'm a nature guy too. We own a motorhome. So Tammy and I, we're to be in the area that we're at and have two, the Mississinawa and the Salamone close that you can go up. I'm the guy that is not all that fond of being right next door to everybody. When you get into some of those campgrounds, and you can kind of be listening to everybody else's conversation. So anytime that we can find venues that take us further away, even if it's off the grid and we run the generator or whatever, obviously I've still got to have air conditioning because I'm not going to sit out there and
You've
heat
earned
up.
You've earned
yeah.
it.
So, but yeah, the taking the motorhome, we like to do that, and being with the kids. Obviously, we have not a huge family, but enough family, and they're close by, and having the grandkids over is kind of peaceful to me at times. Now there are times where I'll be glad when they, you can spoil them and send them home.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids and again, I kind of live in an interesting area. I'm very close to the city, but I'm in the county. Mm-hmm. And in the county, I've got a pond, kind of like Brian, and again, watching the ducks, and we've
Nice.
had wildlife that travel through the yard, and just sitting out on the deck. I mean, Brian's right. That's just, that's what we live for. Just sit back and relax and enjoy everything that we built to get us to the point where we're at. So yeah,
I love it. I have become more of a country girl, and I didn't really grow up that way, but yeah, my husband has introduced me to a lot of that kind of stuff, and I really like the river walk here just to get away. It's very peaceful, and I think that's a nice segue to talk about maybe some projects that we have going on. I know that, Mike, you are working on City Connect, which is a next level trails program that's,
right.
It's got funding from various entities, thankfully, that we're able to connect the Cardinal Greenway with downtown Marion and eventually, hopefully, the Riverwalk. So that's one thing going on. Anything else, or did you expound on that?
Again, Brian kind of alluded to this earlier. You can't break an egg without without making an omelet. But right now we've got 10th Street that's tore up, and it's hard to get around. Ray Street is torn up, and it's hard to get around. Boot Street will be getting the next. So there's 3 projects right there that we're working on that are, again, when they're done, the neighborhoods will look a little bit newer and nicer, and hopefully that spurs on somebody to fix up a house that they haven't done, or think and then they're like, well, if somebody's willing to invest, the city's willing to invest into making the front of my house look, let's put some money in that. Obviously that's the grand picture that you'd love to have, is that we take ownership in what we have and make it a little bit nicer. Again, the City Connect has been a project that's been going on really about 3 or 4 years to get us to the process where we are now. We were very lucky to get some funding from a Lilly grant, working with Indiana Wesleyan. They actually came to us, and I helped sit down, and you helped a little bit, Layla, with the grant to get that put together, to push us over the top, really, to get the funding to finish this. Seems like a very interesting place to put a trail. But when you start looking at how do you connect a very vibrant, a very used Cardinal Greenway, the old rails to trails projects, how do you connect that into the city? And where do you do it? The options are kind of limited. So when we started looking at them, we looked at various areas, and was 10th Street the most ideal? Not particularly, but there really wasn't a lot of options to fulfill a vision that, we want to try to have these interconnects, that you can continue to ride a bike or continue to walk and, get around town. When you start looking at some of these projects, it's painful to go through it. But in the end, when it's all said and done, and you see the finished project, because a lot of people don't have that vision, they just see something tore up, and they had to stop at a stop sign or had to weigh in on a piece of equipment to get out of their way, and they were ready to go from point A to point B. They don't, at that point, they're not looking at the bigger picture. But when it's all said and done, and then they drive up to it and see what's there, then eventually that'll play in their head to say, yeah, it wasn't so bad after all. But.
Exactly, and it's always temporary, and hopefully it'll really add to the quality of life that we have here in Marion. I know that something that has really started to help you guys in your job is the new technology that you're able to utilize to help our roads become, it's a more efficient way of assessing our roads. Yeah. Who wants to talk about
I'll
that?
Let Brian. So I just, before I segue into Brian, is we got approached by a group with some new technology, and Brian was literally, you hadn't been on the job
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah. So, and I'm handing, hey, this is what we're going to do. And he's like, well, how did you do it before? It's like, so when you look at this technology, and I'll let Brian, because he's the one that uses it a lot more than I do. And then the information that he gathers, he gives to me that helps us kind of work on getting our community crossing dollars.
Okay.
So I'll let Brian kind of explain this really, really neat technology.
Yeah, so what they did before was they had to go out, and we have a grading system for the roads of 1 through 10.
Okay.
And 1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
Okay.
They would basically have to go out and drive all the roads and grade them on
manually.
Paper, manually. Yeah. So this new system I have an iPhone that goes in my truck and actually takes pictures as I drive. So I still have to drive all the roads.
Okay.
But it's an AI program that takes care of all of it for me. I can actually stop. I can take a picture it takes 10 pictures every, I think, 15 feet or every 20 feet. It's taking pictures all the time. And then it takes that information and puts it into a program that actually does the road grading for us. So then I go back and I download the information into my computer, and they take that information and grade the roads, and then I get a map, and it'll have the numbers on the roads it grades them for us. So I basically get a report back that shows which roads are 3s, which roads are 5s, which roads are 9s. A 10 is almost impossible to have.
What's the margin of error on that?
Well, I'm finding it's really accurate. We throw it off with bricks.
Yeah.
We still have quite a few brick roads, and so
okay, I see.
It throws it off a little bit on that, which is not a big deal. There's not enough of them that we can't keep up with that. But it's a great program.
Time saver, I'm
huge
sure.
time saver.
And it takes the process of his opinion and my opinion on a road can differ dramatically on what I see and what he sees. Oh, I see a lot more cracks, or I see, the road's deteriorated there. Mm-hmm. It takes all that away from us and puts it into the program that literally allows this system to do what it's got to do. And and then it puts it in a spreadsheet that I don't have to do, that I can submit to the state for funding. So it's just
right. And I remember Brian mentioning to me one day, early on when this program came out, you were so excited about it that you told me that you were starting to work into the future. You were basically creating a new spreadsheet for the future because you had already done all that
What it
work,
helps me
or
with,
it did it for you.
As we plan for this year's paving, I can also start even thinking about the following year, because the roads that are 4s right now are not going to become 6s without the work.
Right.
So if we're paving 3s, I know that 4s, I can already start kind of looking ahead to the following year, which gives you a huge jump. I mean, if we're not looking at what we're going to be doing 2 years from now, then we're failing. So I mean, we have to be concentrating on what's going on now, but we also have to be thinking about what we're going to be doing a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now on the big pictures, or 10. That's what a lot of people don't understand, I think, is that what we do now dictates what happens 5 years from now.
You have to plan.
Yeah, you have to plan. I see a lot of people. The mayor's doing a wonderful job of cleaning up the city and making this a place where people want to move to, so that eventually we can attract bigger companies. And but those companies all look at things like what kind of employees are there, what kind of a base you have. If we want to attract people to come to work, you got to have places for their kids to play. You got to have things for them to do. You got to have places for them to eat. You got to have places for them to shop. So a lot of people don't look at the big picture of how do you make this a better place to live. It starts really small, and when things have been let go for a while, it's going to take some time to get to the place where you make it attractive. I can't see that you could drive around Marion right now and not say, wow, we've come a long way in a year or two. Because there's been, last year was $3 million worth of, over $3 million worth of roads paved.
And this year it'll be more than that, or is it
about the same?
Yeah,
about the same.
Because we got the community crossing grant again, so that's our target.
The largest amount of roads that's ever been paved in town, and now we're going to do that again this year. And I think if you drive around town, and even like we're working on alleys and just all of it, houses are coming down that needed to come down, and sidewalks are being replaced. We have the 50-50 program. We have grants for other sidewalks. We got a lot of stuff going on, and it's it's really making a difference. It looks like we're not concentrating on what's in the future, but people need to understand we are. That's part of it.
And it's this list that we're getting ready to bid out will have over 60 streets. So which is really, if you start looking at it, we're getting into the areas that people have been going, when are you coming to my neighborhood? When are you going to come to my street? Because we really had concentrated on getting the larger thoroughfares, the main roads that ambulances used in school districts. Now we're going to really start. People are going to start a target of, oh my goodness, they are actually out in my neighborhood this year and paving, which
that's
quite
wonderful.
Honestly hasn't been done for quite a while. So
that's quite an achievement. We really need to pat ourselves on the back. Thanks to Mayor Morrell and his initiatives, and just thinking ahead, and just being a go-getter, just to try. If you don't try, you can't succeed.
And there's a huge amount of people that you have to. It takes a lot of people to do this, and he's surrounded himself with some good people, and things are getting done.
Well, what can the community do to help you, or is there a certain way that you would prefer them to reach out, whether it's the app? Is there anything that you can get out there right now that can help them understand the best way to communicate, or the best way to solve problems?
I would speak that I don't know that we're not getting communication. I think we get a lot of communication.
Too much.
Not too much. But I think that the app is helpful. I think people, where Brian and I kind of chuckle at times, that the street department may get a phone call, and because people don't understand, I mean, they're citywide maintenance, but they're still, everybody kind of considers them the street department. So they make calls down there, but the calls come back to us because we're the ones that are really kind of handling the street side of it.
Maybe we can make that more efficient.
That's a challenge because people don't know. I don't know that there's a good way, or that we've really focused on saying this is what we do. Don't this is the place to call.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get reverted back to us anyway. So, and Brian's right. Yeah. You start putting it down on paper on what we do and the different various phone calls that we get and concerns. It's a lot.
It is a lot. And
the app is really probably the best way that I can keep track. But what I would want people to know is just try to be patient.
Yeah.
Because we don't have equipment. So me and him take care of everything, but we have to contract everything out, clear down to potholes. So we have to rely on contractors to do the work. And then like on street lights, that's AEP. When I send out a work order for a light to be fixed, it can take 3 to 4 weeks because they have people out of power, and all those types of things come in first.
Right. It's not just on.
And for people to stay connected and listen to all the stuff that you put out there, because if you don't know what's going on, it's a surprise, and people don't like surprises.
Yeah.
But we try to get the information out there as much as we can, and there's only so many places, and I think we've got a pretty good covering. And so I would say, just listen and go to those. You just named off about 6 different ways you can find out what's going on in the city. So
that's right.
Listen, read, understand, and be a part of it.
Yeah, we have the website where we post our announcements and anything going on, and that actually gets you get notified on your app if you have the free app.
Yeah,
you get a notification that pops up if you sign up for notifications on your actual phone. As long as you have that, it'll pop up and you'll say, oh, okay, you'll see that a street is going to be closed, or a park is going to be closed for maintenance, or whatever it is.
Or a road's going to be paved. Yeah, whatever. So just stay connected.
It's a great way to
be a part
connected.
of it. Yep.
Thank you both. Thank you both for everything that you do across all facets of the city. And Brian, thank you for stepping up to offer to be the chaplain for the Marion Fire Department. It's really needed among all the first responders in the fire department. I know that you're the perfect person for them, and you're already at work. Like, you go on your lunch hour.
Yeah, I went yesterday. Yep.
And I know that you've prayed over the new truck that we received.
Trying to just build the relationships with the guys so they're comfortable talking with me, and that'll take some time. Yeah. There's 60 men. Yeah. And through lunch breaks, and I've got some free time coming up on Thursday nights that I'll probably use for that as well. To just get around and get there's an A, B, and C shift with 4 stations, so a lot of different visitations so that I can start building those relationships and get those guys comfortable, because I hope that they can feel comfortable calling me to a scene, because there's often times where there's a chaplain needed out on scene sometimes. So
absolutely.
We're still in the process of getting credentials for me to be on scene. So this is all new, 30 days into it, but I think it'll be a good thing, and I'm getting really good feedback from a lot of the guys, and I think at the end of the day, a year from now, we'll look back and say it's a good thing.
Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I know that we've kind of hit our hour. Wow, what a great conversation, and I know that our listeners have learned a lot today. Thank you both very much for being on.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for having us.
I just want to thank you for tuning in to the How Marion Works podcast. Follow us on social media, listen to the podcast on platforms like Apple, Spotify, all the major platforms. Episodes release every other Monday at 5 a.m., so be on the lookout. All episodes are archived at howmarionworks.com. So thank you for listening. For Mike Graft and Brian Mauller, I'm Layla Price-Bodkin, and this is How Marion Works.
Thank you for listening to the How Marion Works podcast. We hope you'll join us next time.